The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/miamosinzia.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking our budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Mosinzia of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible. Also heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalayan, and more. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful lady that's based out of Los Angeles. She's an adjunct professor of film studies and classical mythology of UCLA, Pepperdine, and other institutions. She goes by Dr. BJ Graf, and also she's also an author of the book Genesys X, and she also wrote Deus Ex Machine, Sandman, Blind Shadows, Shikganai, and a lot more as well, too. She is an author and also talks about the story about a homicidal special detective and LAPD history. I'll talk about that. I mean, balancing both careers, and that's a really good thing during this pandemic. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful sunny California, ladies and gentlemen, the very, very multi-talented author and professor, Beverly BJ Graf. Beverly, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, hi, Mike. Well, thank you so much for hosting me, and thank you for that lovely introduction. I really appreciate it.
and you've got an amazing story as well, too, that not only you're an author of the book Genesys X, which is out by Fairwood Press, also available on Amazon and more. You're also an adjunct professor of film studies and classical mythology at UCLA, Pepperdine, and more as well, too. And also, you worked at Abilene Pictures. You're vice president of development. We'll talk more about that. And it's also, just an amazing mix of what you have, including Genesys X. And before we talk about the book and before we talk about your amazing career, tell us how you first got started.
Well, let's see. Get started with the book, or do you mean in film or teaching?
Let's start off with film, then we'll go into your teaching career, being with an author. So film is probably the best place to start.
Okay. Well, let's see. I had I actually just had a little summer and then into a year job in the music industry, and video and all that was getting going and everything. So I got to know some people there, and then I went away to grad school and got my doctorate in Greek and Roman literature and philosophy. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to go into academia, but I came back out to Los Angeles where my family are, and I ended up getting a job, and then kind of working my way through different jobs here in the industry. With a German director, wonderful German director, and artist, Percy Adlon. And then I got to know Gregory Hoblet, and I ended up being his VP of development for the better part of a decade. I think we were together there. So
Wow.
We worked on a lot of films like Primal Fear and Fracture and Fallen with Denzel Washington, and just a whole bunch of films and some wonderful TV shows and stuff too. So got going with that. So just that sort of the film side really just sort of happened, I have to say. I planned to be in academia and to teach Greek literature, but took a detour, and then 20 years later or whatnot, I'm back. I am back in academia. I started doing that at night, teaching, and then that became my full-time job after that, because I'm not doing regular film work now, just some consulting on that side.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing to talk about teaching Greek literature and mythology. And how'd you first get interested in it?
Well, like I say, when I went as an undergraduate, when I went to college, I actually planned. My training had initially been in science, and I think I would have stayed in the STEM side, but I just fell in love with the Latin language. And
wow.
I had a wonderful professor, James Tatum, at Dartmouth College, and he was fantastic. And I just fell in love with the Latin language and literature. And from there, I was just going to do that as my foreign language requirement. And, 4 years later, the minor became the major, and things flipped around. And I said, you know what, I really want to stay in this and do more of it. So, nowadays I know everybody, it's everything, you're trying to gear it up to be extremely practical. But I don't think we always know what's going to be practical and what ends up serving you. And sometimes I think you do have to go with your gut or with your heart on some of these things. So I've been lucky. I mean, I'm able to pay the bills, doing that. But yep, I've enjoyed it. So.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it as well too, and I think you're getting some background degrees as well too. It's rough. So I get to understand that too. If you want to bring him on as a guest, that's fine too. So yeah, he agrees too. That's right. Yeah. I agree with you.
I'm trying to throw him junk food so he'll hush up.
a tu Brute.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because his name actually is Brutus.
Really? Oh my goodness! I guess Greek minds think alike. How do you like that?
I know, it's so funny. Yeah.
And who is your favorite Greek character, and also your favorite Greek story?
Oh wow, that's a tough one. Well, for the works, I'd have to go with Homer, right? You just can't best the Iliad and the Odyssey. They're just fantastic. So I would absolutely go with that. Favorite character, probably, that's a tough one. Either Odysseus, or I do like the dark side, so I do like Clytemnestra. But
mm-hmm.
She's interesting. And then Helen is the ultimate enigma. very interested in those characters.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, and we'll also mix in as well, too. We'll talk about your film studies along with classical mythology and more. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Zeal of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, and Audible. Coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with author Beverly Graf, and also as a adjunct professor of film studies and classical mythology, Dr. BJ Graf on the Mike Wagner Show, along with her assistant, Brutus. Let's talk about your teaching career in film studies and classical mythology at UCLA, Pepperdine, and CSUN, and more as well, too, and tell us more about it.
Well, let's see. Kind of combining things. So I'm in several different departments, and I do teach classical mythology, Greek and Roman mythology. They're over at Cal State University at Northridge, and at Pepperdine I teach film in the arts department, and then sometimes also for their MFA program in humanities, technically in the humanities department there. And then at UCLA proper, a little bit in the classics department, and then at the UCLA night programs and stuff, where I teach a lot of film studies, film and TV courses in the entertainment division there.
Mm-hmm. And also, how do you manage to mix the two together? It's like, maybe like a class on combining film studies with mythology and, maybe some examples. So it sounds like you have a really interesting mix and some mythology even involved in some films as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, at UCLA proper, there's antiquity on film, and then we also, have film. I teach film genre, so many of the examples would kind of blend the two and everything that's going on with that too. So yeah, there are a bunch of courses where it kind of you can have a lot of blending of the two areas. So it works out rather well for me, and I think the students end up enjoying it too. And of course, the mythology, it's an evergreen thing. It's part of our wisdom tradition. So you think about how Greek mythology is just so ever present in popular culture. I mean, my students don't often recognize it at the beginning of the course, but by the end, they definitely know that the Hunger Games, for example, is basically Theseus and the Minotaur with some Spartacus added in. So you find out that the stories have been around a long time, and that what artists do is repurpose them for a contemporary audience. And I'm very interested in that, and how that happens. And I'm interested in that as a writer and as a teacher.
Mm-hmm. And also maybe think of that movie 300 as well too. You're talking about some of the Greek films, also Aesop's Fables, and I'm trying to think of a couple other that just stand out in my mind. And right now it's just like I'm just having a hard time trying to think. When it comes to that, but yeah.
But it's just everywhere. I mean, we just had Troy that's on Netflix.
Yes, Troy, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
Well, wonderful. There was the older Brad Pitt movie, and then there's the series on Netflix that you have Troy. fall of a city, and then some stuff like that. And the 300, that's Thermopylae, right? That's the gates of fire kind of idea. Wonderful stuff. But even things like I said, with Hunger Games or whatnot, where it isn't quite so apparent, but as you go into it, you realize that there's an echo from the great myths of the past. I mean, the wonderful movie, just a masterpiece, Unforgiven. I always teach that as the Iliad done as a Western.
The Iliad of the Western. That's interesting. Yeah. And tell us why you call it the Iliad of the Western.
Well, if you remember that one where you have Bill Money, the Clint Eastwood character and all, and he's taken himself out of the fray, right? He's an old warrior, but he's trying to give that up, and he's stepped out. And you have the ladies of the night who have that issue where they put make the call, and there's a parallel between that and, say, the Briseis character in the Iliad, with what happens in affront to dignity. In this case, it's just a call to have the ladies, their honor avenged, as opposed to Achilles' honor. But as you go into it, and the Bill Money character ends up coming back into the fray, and when his best friend, is murdered, just like with Achilles and Patroclus, that's when he really re-enters the war, and as just a fighting machine, as a semi-deity there, and the great hero coming back in, and the Iliad ends up, right, with the sense of the great humanity, the reaching out between the two sides. And the Unforgiven attacks that a bit differently, but you have it in the coda there with the wife, her parents never understanding why she had gone for this man. What was the humanity in him? But we've seen it in the rest of the film, in terms of that. So they kind of play with a lot of themes. You can see a lot of what's going on in the Iliad is repurposed in Unforgiven as just a brilliant Western.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of brilliant movies as well, too, what are some of your favorite movies growing up, along with some of your favorite actors and actresses?
Well, if I had to pick, when you play that game, I'm going to the desert island, and what film to take? I'm taking Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, definitely. I absolutely love that movie. I've seen it so many times, and I just love it. It's a flat out masterpiece. So that one goes, and I love the Renoir, the French film. How can I be blanking on that name? The one about World War I, where it's a war film where you never see the war, you're in the prison camp. And then, of course, The Godfather. I love The Godfather.
Oh, that's a classic. I remember that. Why, Don Corleone? Why? You speak with the hands, but why?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I still remember that.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful films. So there are really too many, we get into those, and then some of the newer ones, things are great. I do like teaching Baby Driver. That's always a student favorite, and it has some of the most brilliant editing and sound editing I've ever seen and heard.
Wow.
I really do and it's a film about redemption, but it's on the deeper levels, but it's technically just so brilliant too. So really, really interesting film.
Mm-hmm.
With that.
And
Keanu Gangsta Kitty, my favorite comedy.
I'm sorry. What was that by Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Gangsta Kitty.
Keanu Gangsta
Reeves
Kitty
plays the spirit animal. He's when the guy goes into the club and gets high, and he has the hallucination, and he sees the little kitty named Keanu, and then you hear Keanu Reeves' voice, and he's the spirit animal. I don't know if you've ever seen that film. It's wonderful. All about code switching and what it means to be a black man in America today. But
wow!
There's a lot going on in that film, but it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
I have to check that out, because my wife and I were trying to figure out what movies we should be watching during the pandemic, trying to find what's on Netflix and all the other streaming services, Hulu, and whatever else. And I think that should be part of our bucket list. And talk about mixing the animation with the reality makes me think of Cool World a while back, and I think there's a few others. But right now, you're right. It's kind of just, there's so many. It's like, I'm trying to think. It's like you want to mention a name, but just doesn't roll off your tongue at the moment. So I know how it goes.
Oh yeah, well that's it. Yeah. If you haven't seen Keanu, Gangsta Kitty, it's really hilarious, and there's a lot to it. And the film, I couldn't think of the title, but it's Grand Illusion. It's the masterpiece from World War I about the escape from the prison camp. Just fabulous movie, French film.
Something too, speaking about World War I, we saw 1917. That was on Netflix. I think about maybe a month or two ago. They got 5 stars, as quick reviews. That was just amazing. May have been slow paced, but you learned a lot about World War I, what actually happened. I mean, I looked and went, I was just blown away by the whole thing. And then my wife just kept nudging me like, wake up, here comes the good part. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I put that into my syllabus this term, too, because I thought we put that in for the unit on the long take. It's a fabulous use of the long take technically, and that film again is really interesting story about those 2 soldiers on this particular mission, and one of them then really finding a renewed purpose in life by having to fulfill the mission of his fallen compatriot there. So yeah, I think that's a terrific movie. I really like that too. I mean, it's brutal and it's very hard hitting, but it's just so well done and very moving. Very moving. Yeah.
I could also think of some other hard-hitting films as well, too, that hits truth home, like Black Hawk Down, talking about the whole Kosovo mission, which just went completely backwards. And, I mean, look at it, it was just an unbelievable film. And, someone said after watching it, go watch an Adam Sandler movie to cheer yourself up.
Yes. Well, that's why we do need some comedies, right, to lighten things up, and watch some Like It Hot, and so from like wonderful classic comedy, and then, like I say, Keanu for a more contemporary style and different things that way. Yeah, absolutely recommend it, particularly in these pandemic times.
Mm-hmm. and of course, since we're talking more about movies, who are some of your favorite directors growing up?
Wow, that's tough. Well, I did work for 2 directors, for Percy Adlon and then with Gregory Hoblit, so I have to give shout-outs to them, right? They were just wonderful. But I love a lot of classics. I love the 2 generation of Coppolas, for one thing, Francis Ford and then his daughter Sophia. You see her as the little baby in the baptism scene in The Godfather and realize that's Sophia. And now she's, of course, a director in her own right and so talented with that. And David Fincher, always liked David Fincher's work. It's particularly something, I like the dark, grisly stuff like Seven. With that. Just wonderful. Marty Scorsese, a big Fig fan,
Oh, yes. Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah. Just some wonderful stuff. And I do like that director of Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, Alfred Thomason. I just think that film is brilliant, just brilliant. So there, too many directors to name there. I would just be listing so many wonderful work being done.
Yes, it is. That's right. And going from great, terrific writing in films to great, terrific writing in books. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Right, Bruce, can you do that? sonicwebstudios.com. Can you type it? Okay, thank you. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Zia of No Time for Love called called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love would be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and know the retail is available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible, coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn, and heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalayan, and more. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And The Mike Wagner Show is so accessible, even Brutus can get to listen as well, too. We're here with Professor BJ Graf and also author Beverly Graf here on The Mike Wagner Show. And let's talk about your first book, Genesys X. And you also had some previous work, Deus Ex Machine, Sandman, Blind Shadows, and Shakata Gana. But let's talk about some of your earlier works and tell us about those and how you got started writing.
Okay. Well, there were some little short stories that I've had published in various anthologies. So you mentioned some of those. I think Shikata Ganai was the first one. That's Japanese for Can't Be Helped. And it introduces the same pair of detectives, homicide detective Eddie Piedmont and Shin Miyaguchi. They're partners in Los Angeles in the near future. Around the book takes place in 2041, and the various stories take place from about 2038 with Deus Ex Machina, and then to about right up into the book 2041. So they kind of go back and forward in time with different ones, and it depends. The Deus Ex Machina, that's a fairly recent little short story that I wrote for. I entered into a competition to get into this anthology, and it was about mystery most theatrical, they called it. And so you had to have a story that was had something to do with the theater, basically. So I took the Medea and did a little riff on that, because the thing that really gets me going, the engine, I would say, behind my writing is, again, how you see Greek mythology and well, Greek and Roman, sometimes Roman, but mostly Greek, comes rippling through into the present and then into the future, basically, and how these stories are constantly, being reinvented over and over again, and I just see them around in the culture all around me. So I thought it'd be fun to write on that one. Mm-hmm. And Shikata Ganai, I just had an idea, really no mythology in that one. That was a few years ago. And with the idea of, we have the self-driving cars now, and I just thought, well, what if somebody, hacked into one of those cars while people were on the freeway?
Self-driving cars? Oh, my God, that would be a nightmare. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be fun to have something that happens on the freeway where you have, dueling hackers basically getting into the cars and things that happen there. So I have a little mystery tied to that.
Huh.
And so that was a kind of fun one. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
And, yep.
And of course, you got a new book called Genesys X, which is available for pre-order on Fairwood Press, Amazon, and BNN.com, and all the major retailers as well, too, including the Independents. And it's a story about the youngest homicidal special detective in LAPD history. And tell us more about Genesys X and how it's part noir science fiction and part twisted take on Greek mythology.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you. I had this idea. This is one that the genesis of the idea came to me years and years ago. I'd heard this fantastic lecture on Sophocles, actually, and it stayed with me. And as I was working in the film industry, it just, how sometimes an idea just gets its teeth into you and it just won't let go. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, this is something I wanted to write, and I thought, how can I do it in a different way? And I was, again, very interested in the idea of taking Greek myth and mixing that with science fiction, putting it in the near future so that some of the genetic technology would be, not just plausible, but completely credible, and also give me some leeway for some changes that I wanted to make in terms of what happens in the police department because I'm not a homicide cop, and although I do as much research as I can and talking to people, I know I might get things wrong. I'm sure I do. So I wanted to have it in a different environment where I could have a little wiggle room there. And it's basically, I thought it would be fun to have this story with a homicide cop who's got real issues with his dad. In this case, Eddie Piedmont, my detective. His father was a corrupt cop and an addict of this new drug we call greenice, which is even more powerful than fentanyl. And Eddie does not want to be like his dad, and he's been running away from that all his life, but in a weird way. As Jung would say, you meet your destiny on the road you take to escape it. And Eddie is, of course, a cop, and he's going to run right into certain issues with his father. And I just thought I would take this, kind of classic setup in a mystery of going on a sort of suspicious overdose, and then things escalate. And as Eddie investigates, he finds himself getting into this case that involves cutting-edge reproductive technology in the future. And it'll end up where the plot and the subplot kind of flip, and stuff that is in his background, and the father issues with his dad kind of, become very important in the story, and Eddie ends up getting much closer to the murderer than he ever would want to. As a cop that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically, it's involved with that, and in the background, that's but something that's very timely now is there's a plague going on. It's not COVID, or but instead it's a form of a mutated form of Alzheimer's, and it's attacking young people. It's attacking teenagers instead of the very old. So I just thought that would be something that would be horrifying. My mom died of Alzheimer's. I had her at home for the last year of her life when I was nursing her, and it's a terrible disease. And I just thought, if that something happened where that was affecting young people, that would be, even more horrific and tragic. So that was something I set in the background, and part of the motivation for the story.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, that the scientist that was working on a cure gets murdered as well, too. And
yes.
I mean, that's what just makes things very complicated. And of course, how do we put in a twisted new take on Greek mythology? It's like, what are some of the elements that get turned a different way, a new light, and also maybe some of the more important elements in Greek mythology be involved in Genesys X.
Yeah, well, I think, without giving too much away, I would say the father-son stuff comes into play there. In Greek mythology is very involved with fathers and sons when you see it between the Titans and Zeus, and then it moves, of course, into the human arenas with the sort of what we call in mythological studies the reluctant father pattern, and sons trying, when they become fathers themselves, trying not to have the same power struggles with their father in terms of that. And then it gets into, going into some of the material from Sophocles and all that. So I was playing around with all that. And just seeing how certain, classic stories could be repurposed. And this was one I wanted to take from Sophocles there and play around with in the near future. So,
Mm-hmm.
And
then how about maybe a few more minor elements of Greek mythology mixed in with Genesys X?
Oh, well, I had some fun with, some of the, just playing with a lot of the visuals and everything too, some of the sci-fi stuff. So having like the Nike swoosh, Nike, of course, the goddess of victory, but
just do it.
That is an advertising slogan that's projected on the moon's surface now, because we're in the near future. We're we're not just having SpaceX, but that we're landing on the moon with tourists and using the lunar surface as an advertising billboard. So to me, kind of horrible. But
don't tell Michael Jordan that.
Oh yeah, I know. But it's just everything, and the derma ads, instead of just tats done for artistic or tribal issues, doing them to sell things too, which I've seen on celebrities and sports figures and everything. That I think that's already starting. So, and using that for certain mythological ripples as well. Had some fun playing with that. And you'll see certain things that, without giving too much away, I think the mythological stuff will be very clear when you read the book. I don't know how to do that without giving the story away.
Well, we certainly will, and encourage everybody to get involved in Greek mythology. And where can we find Genesys X at?
Oh, well, let's see. It's available at my publisher, Fairwoods Press, so www.fairwoodpress.com, and also Amazon and Barnes & Noble and an independent bookstore near you.
That is fantastic. We're looking forward to it. We're here with author Beverly Graf, who is also Professor BJ Graf over at UCLA at Pepperdine and Cal State University Northridge on the Mike Wagner Show. A very big thank you for your time, Beverly. You've been absolutely fantastic. And also just a few more things here. What can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond?
Well, I'm doing cross-genre stuff now, so I am hoping to do another Eddie book that would play with the Orpheus myth. And then on top of that, I've started a trilogy, an epic fantasy that's set in the Greek Bronze Age. So I hope it's not too hubristic to say something like take Game of Thrones in the Greek Bronze Age and play with that. So I'm particularly interested in the female characters of Clytemnestra, Helen, and Penelope, who are, of course, all related. And you have, some of the most dysfunctional families in all of history and mythology. And then you have the Trojan War at the end of the Trojan War. So there's politics and war and romance and fantasy. There's a huge fantasy element. I have this idea of these seeing stones that are connected to the 5 rivers in Hades, and a lot of trouble that happens when Penelope's son makes a big mistake with one of those seeing stones and unleashes terror into the world and sends his father into a different dimension, and that's why we get the Cyclops and all those monsters when Odysseus is trying to sail home. With that,
and I guess that's where we get the expression of you just sit and hell and wait. That actually they call it just heading up the Hades waiting room. Just go to hell and wait.
Funny. Yeah, she's the destroyer.
Well, pretty much so, and of course. Just a couple of things as well, too. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Beverly?
Boy, that's tough because there's so many to whom I owe so much. And of course, my parents, I'd have to give it to them. But on the writing side, I've always been inspired by the greats in the world of ancient Greece and everything. So I do always look back to Homer and Euripides and Sophocles, and on the Roman side, Virgil, of course. And then, there's just so many fantasy and mystery writers who've inspired me. I'm a big fan of thriller writer De Silva and Daniel De Silva and Michael Connelly in mysteries. Just so many writers, and fantasy, of course, it's Tolkien and George R.R. Martin and Frank Herbert. Too many to name, with all that. So I'm catching up. I've been reading some, writers I didn't know so much. Just started with James Van Pelt, whom I met in a little reading not too long ago, and Emily Scaftoon. So trying to get acquainted with some new writers out there, new to me, not new to the fantasy and sci-fi world, but going with that. And I got to read the new new work by the wonderful author who wrote Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I just love that book, Susanna Clark. God, yeah, she has a new one. I'm that's on my table. As soon as I finish grading all the papers for this term, then I get to reward myself by reading some wonderful books. So.
And, of course, looking forward to it as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point, Beverly?
Well, I would say for any writer, number one, don't give up. The process takes longer for most of us than you think. But also when you do get rejected, and you probably will, most of us do, take action. I find instead of letting yourself spiral down into some trough of depression, if you get a story rejected or something, either do a rewrite right then, or if you have another story going, or send it right back out that same day. I find that really does a lot to help you sort of ward off the black dog times, and you'll get further. Just don't let yourself spiral down into that trough. Take action. That's my advice.
And that's very important as well, too. Once again, author Beverly Graf, who is also Professor BJ Graf at UC and Pepperdine and Mike Wagner Show. Beverly, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase and check out your new book?
Okay. Well, you can find the book, again, at Fair Press, fairwoodpress.com, at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and any independent bookstore near you. And I'm working, I finished the draft of the first book of the Epic Trilogy, and so I sent that to my agent. I'm working on notes now for that, so I hope to get that out pretty soon. And I'm on to the next book. And hoping that'll be out, within, I don't know, sometime this next year. I hope. We'll see how that goes.
Sounds very good. Once again, Beverly, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor. Keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And don't forget to keep in touch and, have brewers enjoy on the ride as well, too. I'm looking forward to more Greek mythology from you. I mean, just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike. I so appreciate you hosting me. It's really been fun on my end, too. So thank you again for taking the time. I appreciate it.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based upon a real-life relationship, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon. Do read it. I'm sure you'll love it. It's www.miamosinzia.com and www.amazon.com/miamosinzia.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.